Hey guys, this is Sam with 2Ms.
My name is Mikey.
And welcome to Kicks, Vibes, and Life, a podcast about sneakers, episode 2. Woo! Yeah, we do want to say thank you to everyone who watched our first episode. So if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel because we have a lot of exciting things coming. Aside from more episodes, of course, we still have a lot of stuff that is coming to everyone who subscribes. So make sure to subscribe and also thank you, of course, to everyone who tuned in
Yes.
and to everyone who has already subscribed.
Thank you.
Yay!
Thank you so much.
But how are you feeling, Mikey? How's everything?
Good, I guess. I mean, it is a weekend, but so I guess I've been resting, just keeping track of the playoffs and stuff. Good game today, so I hope
Yes.
I don't know who's gonna end up winning, but let's see. Let's see.
Yeah. But by the time we post this, I'm sure we
hmm
already know. We
Oh
already
yeah, for
know.
sure.
Yeah,
As long
for
as the
sure.
Lakers win the championship, I'm good with that.
Yeah. That's the only important part.
That's the only
As long as
important
the
thing, really.
Lakers win the finals for Kobe. Well, anyway, I think today we are for this episode we are introducing a new segment on
Yeah.
the episode where we share a bit of news from the sneaker world and what are our thoughts on it. So kind of
hmm
like a roundtable discussion. Wow,
Yeah.
roundtable
Round
pero
table.
dalawa lang
Two lang.
tayo.
But yeah, I mean it's just our way to like share things we found like really interesting in the space, and we just wanted to pick each other's brains, so to speak, on what how we feel about it. So I guess what we're gonna be calling it is how are we feeling?
So do you want to start off?
Yeah. Well, one thing I found interesting on a personal level was you know how Jordan Brand has signature athletes.
Mm-hmm.
It's there's a rumor going around that Zion Williamson of the New Orleans Pelicans is going to be getting his own shoe next year.
Whoa.
I'm not sure if I mean, if they're to follow the rumor, the name for the shoe is going to be called the Jordan Z code. So yeah, Z Zion, and then it's supposedly priced more affordable at a more affordable figure, I guess, to get more young people into it.
Mm-hmm. Mm, okay.
Yeah, there are no leaks of what the shoe is going to look like yet, but
Mm-hmm.
again, if the rumors are to be believed, the shoe is slated to come out next year.
Oh, that's interesting. But it's Jordan Brand, no?
Yes, yes. So he'll be
Well,
joining I believe Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook. And
yeah.
aside, I mean, who have signature lines aside from of course the signature Air Jordan line, but then again,
Mm-hmm.
it's I mean, Jordan isn't on the court anymore. So,
Yeah. That's interesting that it's
I
Zion
think
Williams.
so.
It's interesting. I mean, we can't deny that he's a great basketball player.
Yeah,
He's really
for
good fit.
sure.
But I don't know how I feel about him getting I mean, who am I? I don't know. But then I don't know how I
Yeah.
feel about him getting a signature shoe so early on. I guess, like, I don't know, like, but then I also heard rumors, right, that they were gonna Luca, maybe
Yeah.
Doncic also.
If well, I think Luca should get one first.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? Why?
Yeah, I think Luca's. I mean, the Luca's a second year player, and I don't. I'm not sure if I'm right here, but
Mm-hmm.
Luca in the jump from his first year to his second year, it's been absolutely
Crazy,
magnificent. It's crazy. I
wild.
mean, he elevated himself into the possible MVP into possible MVP contention. If
Yeah,
I'm not
that's
wrong,
true.
I don't know.
That's
He didn't make the finalists, the top three finalists, but just to be in the conversation, like in your second year playing basketball in the NBA, that's
mm-hmm.
crazy. And
Yeah, that's true.
I think since he's an international player, like he's a European player, it might be nice to also see a signature athlete of that caliber, like a more international face, I'd suppose.
Mm-hmm.
Like
That's true.
just to see like how people really represent the Jordan brand like across the world, because I think there are lots of talented international players, and it would be nice to see more of them get their own shoes and clothes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it'd be cool to see Luca with his signature shoe. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm sure. I mean,
yeah,
definitely.
that would be so cool. And but then if Zion were to have his own shoe, it has to really, because you remember when Zion was first like playing and he had that game where he like his shoe like
Blew
broke.
out. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So the support of his shoe has to be insane, like the Jordan
yeah,
brand
for
shoe.
sure.
For
I
sure, right?
mean,
Because I mean he's such a big person. Like
hmm.
he's huge. So
Yeah,
I
and
mean
and
I'm interested to see how they're going to do that
I
aspect
think
of it.
so. I mean,
Yeah.
support wise, yeah, I'm pretty sure it has to figure in the construction somehow. They're gonna have to
Hmm.
address that
Yeah.
because, but then again, it's gonna be interesting because not the normal consumer isn't built like Zion Williamson. You
Exactly.
know?
Yeah. So we have yet to see what they have in store. I mean, so far it's just rumors, but naman, it's not
Yeah.
really like, but that's interesting. It's cool to hear then. But on to more sneaker news. One of the ones that I found very interesting from the past couple of weeks. It's been a while since this news came out, but I do want to talk about it. It's
Hmm.
the release of the signature skate shoe of Louis Vuitton with is it Lucien? I'm not sure how
Lucian
to pronounce.
Clark.
Yeah, Lucien Clark. So he has a signature shoe with Louis Vuitton,
Oh yeah.
which I find so interesting because well, what from what I know about skate culture was like the culture of rebels and like
Hmm.
outcasts and like really that rebellious spirit going against the
Right.
man,
Right. Right.
that
Yeah.
kind of thing. And Louis Vuitton is such a big luxury brand that
Hmm.
is so it's not it's not really, how do I say, it's not really you wouldn't associate Louis Vuitton with like skate culture before, but recently
Right.
with like Louis Vuitton collaborating with Supreme, it has become like this thing where luxury brands kind of take street culture and make it their own, or they adapt it to their own like
Yeah.
branding, which I find so interesting because the very like not message, but the very attitude of skate culture is the one that like goes against luxury or like brands like Louis Vuitton, because like for example Supreme, they wanted to make clothes in the start, like skaters wanted to make
Hmm.
clothes that are for skaters, for rebels, for
Yeah.
outcasts, which was like the
Absolutely.
market that these luxury brands were ignoring, or it wasn't
Hmm.
for them. So now that you have skateboarders who are getting their signature with Louis Vuitton, it's so interesting to see how things have been playing out in that
Yeah.
area.
It feels like a strange pairing for me.
Mhm.
Like yeah, everything you I agree with like everything you said. Like
Yeah.
streetwear culture, skate culture was very. It used to be very niche. It was
Yeah.
very outside of the mainstream. But then now it's so now it's so out there. It's blown up, and it's funny how high fashion or like a luxury brand, yeah, like Louis Vuitton is adapting or they're trying to make inroads into those kinds of cultures.
Mhm.
You see things that are so commonplace now. Yeah, like Louis Vuitton and Supreme, Dior and Jordan. Those this whole like high fashion meets street thing is becoming it's becoming more and more of the norm. Like over the past, I don't know, maybe half a decade,
Mhm.
more or less. But
Yeah.
I think the Lucian Clark shoe with Louis Vuitton is interesting. It was certainly interesting to see like a Louis Vuitton ad in a Thrasher magazine.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
It was it's so unlikely, but it's cool in a way. But I just don't know who they're really trying to hit with that. Like I
Yeah.
don't know if I I would assume that the normal skateboarder would not spend like Louis
Oh
Vuitton
yeah.
level money on a skate shoe, because you're gonna wreck them in a couple of weeks.
Exactly. That's why like I feel like I'm wondering like although like of course we all know like Louis Vuitton with Virgil Abloh and everything. He's taken a lot of street culture and applied it to how
Yeah,
he does things creatively
yeah,
at Louis Vuitton. But like the shoe itself, like like what you said, I don't know if skaters would cash out like that much money
yeah.
just so they could wreck a pair of shoes while doing tricks and stuff. And it's
Exactly.
just so interesting how like skate culture used to be very like underground and like it
Yeah.
was just like an expression of youth
Hmm.
rebellion. But now it's so mainstream, as
Yeah.
in like even people who would have never skated in their life are, buying stuff from like Palace skateboards, which
Right.
is
Exactly.
a
And
skate brand,
yeah,
like
and
also
Supreme is
Supreme.
a Supreme isn't Supreme never calls themselves a streetwear brand. They really figure themselves. I mean, they really associate themselves to be like a lifestyle skate brand. You know.
Yeah. So yeah, which only makes you think like, do you think that like brands like Supreme enjoy the fact that everyone is really into Supreme now, even though they're not skaters? From when they started the brand, they really wanted to make it for people who were like into skating and stuff. So it
Yeah.
just really
Or
makes you think.
it does. It does. It really used to be. Yeah, like with these brands before, they used to be such an antithesis to what
Mm-hmm.
luxury brands were doing now. It was always like a signifier of cool, so to speak. Like if you had like a Supreme T-shirt on, like, oh, this guy, this guy kind of gets it,
Yeah.
somehow,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
like this guy knows what's up.
Mm-mm.
Same thing with like, I don't know, maybe like by with wearing like Stussy or Palace or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really interesting. But that, I guess that's just how,
Capitalism
yeah, that's
works.
just how capitalism might work, and how hype just work. How hype takes over eventually.
So, does that mean now that Supreme has worked with brands like Louis Vuitton and even like the North Face stuff is so expensive, let's just
Hmm.
say. Does that
It,
mean they have
it's
become
great though. I love the
sellouts?
North Face stuff. Um, it's really interesting because didn't wasn't there a weren't there reports like not too long ago that
Mhm.
showed that Supreme was backed by one of those investor groups. I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
forget like which one, but they're valued at, I don't know, like $500 million or something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's really hard to say whether they sell out or not, but
I know. It
it's
just makes you
certain.
think.
It really does. But it
Yeah.
sometimes I do get the feeling that it's they're not trying to just um, pander to their core audience anymore, because they know
Mhm.
that people will be more inclined to buy something
Yeah.
that has like a Supreme logo on it. Like, oh, here's an alarm clock. It's
Mhm.
cooler if it has,
Yeah.
if it's cooler if it's a Supreme
Oh,
alarm clock.
here's a brick.
Yeah, here's a brick, and the brick sold out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not to take anything from Supreme, everything they've done over the years has been amazing. And obviously,
Hmm.
they're such a great brand known everywhere,
Yeah,
especially nowadays. But yeah, it just really makes you think because from the origins of it, it's so not against, but it's so different from where it is now, which is not essential. It's not a bad thing. It's just makes you think talaga like,
it
oh,
really
so this is
does.
what happens when a brand grows and a lot of
Yeah,
a lot more people buy into it, and
yeah,
then this is what happens, and these are the things that they have to sacrifice as a
yeah.
brand. So
It's always a
interesting.
it's always that dilemma of like trying to branch out but staying true to your core identity. Yeah,
Which is not easy at
and
all.
growth. I mean, everybody wants to grow.
Hype is very
Yeah,
interesting, which is
very.
why I think it's very fitting. I think that piece of
Yeah.
news was also very fitting to what we're actually going to be talking about today.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, yeah, and like what everything you mentioned about growth, it's definitely there. Like, and going beyond like what you were originally intending to do with something. Yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
for sure. I mean, because I guess it leads in perfectly to what our main discussion is today, which is, well, we're gonna be talking about a shoe that's been big this whole year so far. Quarantine
Yeah.
notwithstanding and everything, it's been a big year for the Nike Dunk.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting to me because I thought Nike Dunks like fell off the face of the earth for
Right,
like the
right, right.
past 10 years. I don't know.
Yeah, like
The
the
last
last.
time I heard of a dunk was I was still a teenager. I'm currently
Oh,
23 now. I
hmm.
think the last time was like a very long time ago. I haven't heard anything about dunks before. I mean, in the last 10 years, which is why I'm so surprised to see them being like resurrected. Like they really returned from the dead, I think.
Yeah, there's always been a following for dunks, but
Yeah.
yeah, like over the last, I'd say probably since the 2010s,
Mm-hmm.
the following is, yeah, it's grown quiet.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't as loud as, say, the early to mid 2000s. I
Yeah.
remember I started collecting shoes seriously in college, and
Mm-hmm.
that was a time
What
where
year?
uh in 2006. I
Wow,
started
tanda.
college in
Joke lang.
2006, di ba? Yeah, I started college in 2006, and
Mm,
that time was a huge time for Nike SB, especially the
mhm.
SB Dunk.
Yeah. No, yeah, I remember. Well, to everyone who's watching and listening, me and Mikey have a significantly big age gap.
Yeah,
Well, it's not that big,
seven
but it's
years,
pretty big.
7 years.
Yeah, 7 years. So we both went to Ateneo. Mikey, what was your ID number?
060141.
Mine was 144635. So to
Yeah,
everyone
so
listening, the first two numbers are the years that you
yep,
entered college in. So Mikey was
2006.
'06, I was 2014. So we have a pretty significantly big age gap. But like what Mikey was saying, I remember when I was a kid, Mikey was already really into collecting dunks. That's how I first heard about dunks because obviously we're the only two in the family. He's my only sibling. So whatever he
Yeah,
was into, I was like, okay,
yeah,
I'm
you
down
can
for
see it,
this.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But can you tell us more? Like, what exactly is a dunk? Like, what is the shoe for? Like, what is it?
Well, okay. Um, you have to go back to the mid '80s. I think I'm not sure if
Mm-hmm.
I'm right here, but like
Mm-hmm.
I think the Dunks first came out in 1985, and then
Whoa.
it really seems like it was one of those perfect shoes to come out at the right time because
Mm-hmm.
this is when you go back to the '80s. It seems that was a time when there was more TV attention being given to college sports.
Mm-hmm.
So more and more people were tuning into like college basketball, and they were getting into these rivalries, and people who were in the schools that were playing in like the NCAA were, they wanted to represent somehow. And
Yeah.
Nike partnered with schools to release colors that represented the schools.
Mm-hmm.
So you had colors for like the University of Kentucky, Syracuse. So, like how people would color coordinate like when you go to a basketball game,
Yeah.
like, they wear blue, right? So
Yeah. Yeah.
it made sense. It made perfect sense. So from a sports and marketing and a product standpoint, like the
Mm-hmm.
shoe is perfect. It looked
Yeah.
great. Like the silhouette holds up. But then I guess after that, there wasn't a big moment associated with the dunks up until probably the 2000s when Nike started its skateboarding team and when they
Mm-hmm.
came out of a skateboarding division and they saw that the dunk was could translate well from like basketball to skateboarding. So they came
Mm-hmm.
out with the SB dunk and it was a hit from there. So many colors, so many collaborations. It was such like that came out about in the mid 2000, and it was such a huge time for Nike SB. I
Yeah.
think that's when me and a lot of other people like started collecting them.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was P Rod Nike SB? Was he?
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
I think he still
See?
is. He still is Nike SB.
Yeah, okay. P-Rod, okay, classic skateboarder. Paul Rodriguez,
Yeah.
Tony Hawk, like, like.
Mhm.
Anyway, P-Rod. So I think he was the one of the first people I remember who was rocking Nike SB.
Mhm.
And I always associated obviously Nike SB with the skateboard culture. Why that's why I find it interesting now. See once again how skateboard culture has become so mainstream that people who
Yeah.
I know have never skateboarded in their life are so into Nike SB as in
SB.
fighting tooth and nail just to
Yeah.
buy a pair of shoes, which is so interesting, right? Like it's how? Like, well, how did this happen? Like, I'm trying to understand talaga.
just they've done so many like collaborations and a lot of limited release things over the years. It's
Mm-hmm.
that's why it's always just crazy to me how it worked out. Like
Yeah.
there were times where I remember there were times where people were rioting over Nike SB shoes, you know? Like when
Before.
yeah, before.
Mm-hmm.
And even until now, like you hear stories from around, let's say from the US, that people still go crazy for Nike SB. Like it still has its
Recently.
following. Yeah, in recent times.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think one of like what you said, they've come up with a lot of stuff over the years, but I think there have been a few that have really cemented its place in sneaker culture. Like I
for
think
sure.
one of the most iconic Nike SBs would be, and one of the earliest ones I remember would be the Diamond Dunk, right?
Oh yeah, I love the Diamond Dunk. I
Yeah.
wish I had the Diamond Dunks.
Yeah. So do you want to tell everyone what the Diamond Dunk is? Because I only know what it is from like the color,
Right,
obviously.
the
So
Diamond Tiffany blue dunk.
yeah. Classic.
Yeah,
Classic.
the Diamond Dunk, I think it was made with in collaboration with Nick, Nick,
Mhm.
the guy who started Nick Tertier, I think his name, Nick Diamond, Nicky
Mhm.
Diamond. Like
Yeah.
he started a skate hardware and clothing company called Diamond Supply,
Yeah.
and I think that shoe was part of a series they did with I think skate brands or the managers of skate brands.
Mhm.
So that dropped, and I remember people he posted them online before they actually dropped, and people were already going crazy for them. I mean, before this was a
Yeah.
time where information over the internet it wasn't as accessible as it was now. People used to go through like imagine people used to go through forums to find information about new things and not
Yeah.
like blogs. Yeah,
Forums.
about forums.
That's
Like
old.
NikeSB.org. Mga ganon.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, I used to check those forums all the time for like just to make sure the shoes I got were like real.
With dial-up internet? Joke.
Well, DSL na ata tayo nun at the time.
Dial-up.
With dial up. But yeah, it information then wasn't as accessible. So it always made shoes like those an even a much bigger deal.
For that time, that was huge already, that shoe, right?
Very.
And like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of our cousins actually named his daughter after
I think so, yeah.
the colorway
Yeah,
of
the
this
Tiffany
diamond
blue
dunk.
colorway.
Yeah, so shout out Justin.
Yeah, Dustin and Tiffy, if
Um
you're listening, hello.
yes, hello. So he actually named, I think, from what I remember
I
him
think so. Yeah,
explaining, like
I think
yeah.
I've heard the story too.
Yeah, na parang he named her Tiffany, kind of like the colorway of this dunk. So that's the
Yeah,
cultural impact of
exactly.
this shoe.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
there were follow-ups to the Tiffany Dunk that came out recently. I think
Mhm.
in the last year yeah, year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, they came out with new colorways of the Tiffany Dunk, and people still go nuts for them.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fact that you know it as the Tiffany Dunk,
Mhm.
it's never really been called. It wasn't done in collaboration with like the Tiffany brand. It's just people just know it as the Tiffany Diamond Dunk, and
Yeah.
like what it's probably one of the best images people have of a Nike SB shoe.
That's true. Yeah, and to think they dropped like the first one ever, I think in like what, mid
Yeah, in
2000s.
the mid 2000s,
Then they
and
released 2 years ago. Grabe.
yeah, to crazy fanfare. So
Yeah.
the following's the following's still there, and more people are getting into it now.
Mm-mm.
Just this
Yeah.
year alone has been such a huge year for dunks. It's probably like the consistent year I've seen in a long time. The thing with what makes this year pretty cool is it's not just they're not just releasing dunks like under the Nike SB like banner, like they
Mhm.
release like they brought back some old colors, a lot of new collaborations,
Mhm.
and yeah, and I mean, Travis Scott came out of a Nike SB Dunk, you know?
Yeah. Well, I think it's nice though to see how there's been like a resurgence of like and like been new life
Yeah,
into Nike SB because it's such a shame that before like it was such a popular shoe and then kind of fell off the radar and then
yeah,
now it's kind of booming again to a generation who's not even old enough to know like where it came from. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
kids nowadays like they didn't really know that it was a huge shoe back then. They only
Mhm.
know it's a huge shoe now because I feel like a lot of the shoes that Nike does, people will hype like you know what I mean? Like people will really be down for it. They see it on someone famous and they'll be like, okay, we're down for
Yeah,
this. But it's
yeah. Going back to what we were talking about in the first episode, it's like, yeah, hype just brings a certain kind of energy. But it's
Mhm.
also good to, I mean, from that energy, it also might be nice to see like how people can look into something further. That's why I think
Yeah.
it's a really good year for dunks because um it's not just the it's not just the ultra limited edition product that's selling or that
Mhm.
people are turning their attention to. There's a lot
Mhm.
of stuff that's just simple, like the that's more in line with what was coming out back then, like in the 80s, that
Mhm.
people are drawn to also.
Yeah. That's true. And I just think it's cool like well, like I think I mentioned this before like in our first episode how kids now or like the generation now they really have an affinity for things that are
Right.
old, not old, but like they love to bring things back. They love things that are
Uh
like
Bygone era. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I wasn't there when it was originally first there, but I love
Yeah.
it now, so it doesn't matter, which is cool. Like even just like another dunk I think that a lot of people are obsessed with is like the pigeon dunk,
Yeah,
which
that's
I
I
think
think that was the one that caused the riots in New York, the
yeah,
pigeon
yeah.
dunk.
Yeah. And I remember I watched a documentary. I think it was Atmos. I'm not sure
Mm.
what a documentary where they talked about the pigeon dunk. Oh no, it was a complex. I think it was a
Yeah, yeah.
complex documentary where they're talking about it. And parang when they designed it, they didn't really think that it was gonna cause like riots and
Yeah,
like
and who knew, right?
yeah, and then boom, like so many people lined up for it and like yeah, it did cause riots and stuff, which is crazy.
I mean, we got the
Crazy.
riot over sneakers.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
yeah, that's how hype works, diba? Like, I
really.
mean, the two of us, we've personally seen with our own eyes what people like, how far people are willing to go to get a drop of something. Like,
Yeah,
we've personally been to like New York and like we've seen Supreme on Thursdays. Was it
yeah.
Thursdays?
Thursdays.
Supreme on Thursdays, Palace on the days that they drop also.
Yeah,
They literally, in New York, they literally will close the street.
yeah.
Like,
Or
not
they'll cordon
everyone
off a section.
yeah,
Yeah,
they so that not a lot of people can get in, and the lines outside are crazy. As in, it's so noisy. So it's just it really makes you think how hype is such a powerful thing.
yeah.
Like you only like for example, when you think about it, you only see pictures of it online. You don't even know what it looks like in real life, and you're just like, I'm gonna decide to get this. So it's like,
I need this. You know,
yeah, diba? It's just so compelling. Like,
it really is,
ooh, yeah.
and it's such a interesting tool for a brand like Nike to like harness all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
Yeah.
but then and you see its effects. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen I see these articles and tweets about like let's say if Travis Scott wears this pair of Nike Dunks that came out like the mid 2000s, and they let's say if they weren't selling for much like now, I mean
Mm-hmm.
before he wears them,
Mm-hmm.
the resale prices shoot up automatically after he
Mm-hmm.
does. Like if he gets pictured wearing let's say a pair from 2006 that was selling in 2020 for like $190,
Yeah.
you'll see it the next day after Travis Scott wears them for like 1,000. You know?
Dude, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Someone like Travis Scott who like the whole world watches everything that he does and they want everything that he does. That
Yeah.
even though it doesn't make sense, they're gonna want
Oh,
to buy it.
yeah. It's really the hype around it is crazy, and it just I guess it helps his cause to have such a devoted fan base.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
It's
and
really something. I don't know.
yeah,
Like, I mean, they're
imagine the
quarter
power.
pounders, you know.
Imagine the power of someone like that. So
Yeah,
it's no question that anything that Travis Scott does, people will always love and people will buy, right? So it's just so interesting. Like you can get Travis Scott's go-to meal at McDonald's,
I
and
know.
everyone's like, "Let's go!" But it's also really weird at the same time. But I think that's what hype really does sometimes. Sometimes it's like,
Yeah,
um, I mean, as a consumer, you really do have to make well informed decisions.
right.
But sometimes with hype, some of that logic really just goes
It
out
it,
the
it,
window.
it just goes out the window. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was just gonna say it's like, you know, it really impacts your decision making every now
Yeah,
and then. You're like,
it does.
I don't need this, but
Mhm.
it's kind of cool, so
Yeah.
maybe
Perfect stuff
okay,
is like
fine.
the supreme random things that they make, right? Like
Yeah,
the supreme, for example, like the brick. The
yeah,
supreme brick. So to everyone who doesn't know what you're talking about, a literal brick, ha, as
yeah.
in
They released a brick.
brick, as in it's cement or something. I don't know, like whatever a brick is made of, with Supreme branding on it,
Yeah,
and it was sold out. Like, what do you need a Supreme brick for, right? Nothing really.
yeah,
You just display it in your house. That's it.
yeah.
But it's sold
Unless
out
you
and
know,
people bought it.
if you have the money, they build a house with a supreme brick.
Yeah,
Pero, like, it's a
yeah,
supreme brick.
yeah. Exactly. Which I think is a clear example of how sometimes when it comes to hype, your logic really just goes out the window. Like
It really does.
a personal and for me would be the easy slides. Like I don't have them, but I want them. Even though they don't make sense to me, I want them because they look weird. I don't know, like, but it's just it I don't know, maybe the hype has somehow tricked my mind into thinking that they're cool, that they're nice. So I kind of want them now. So it's see, that's like I don't know, that's how my brain works
Yeah,
nowadays.
it's like, it's like how songs work. Like when you hear something, it just worms your way into your ear.
Mhm.
It's a kind of like how hype works in your mind. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't want this, but then again, you think about it more and more. Like,
Mhm.
okay, maybe I'm coming around to it. Maybe it is kind of cool. But and
Well,
then
yeah, which
all of a sudden, okay, add to cart, wait for it to
yeah.
ship.
That's true. I think that's really interesting because, like, for example, the whole Yeezy line. Actually, if you think about
Hmm.
it, like the shoes, they're all very out of this. They're not your ordinary like sneaker. They all have weird like silhouettes, shapes, and stuff. But
Yeah,
somehow, with the hype around them, I think we have truly come to accept that these are shoes that are aesthetically pleasing, quote unquote. Which I
yeah,
mean, for me before, like I wouldn't even think that the Yeezy shoes before. I didn't think that they were super nice. But over time, the more that you see them and the more they come out, it's like so this is what people are into now. Like this is acceptable as style and fashion, which I think is
yeah,
very powerful because hype is able to dictate obviously the like trends in the fashion world, in pop culture, which is crazy.
yeah.
Hmm.
And I guess it also goes with, I mean, I don't know if this is the right word to say, but like tangentially,
Hmm.
it's like how everything's geared to like incite a reaction within people,
Yeah.
like the way people are drawn to a shoe like the Dunks now, or like how people used to, follow Yeezys a lot. It's like how, yeah, we're conditioned to really react to something that draws out like a strong response,
Hmm.
like from yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that is how hype works. But then my question is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with hype things, but like
Hmm.
you do have to wonder though, is it sustainable like in the long
Yeah.
run?
For example, with Off White as the luxury brand, I always ask myself, like, okay, it's like hyped right now, but like 5 years, 6 years, 8 years down the line, are these clothes that I'll still be able to wear? Because I mean, Off White, a lot of the clothes that they make, I mean, maybe it's just me, but a lot of it is very trendy. Like, it's what's popular now.
Mhm.
but I wouldn't say that these are styles that will last forever. Well, that's just for
Yeah.
me at least, because I appreciate things that, especially for luxury brands, you pay such a hefty like price for
Mhm.
something. You're gonna want to use it 10 years down the line, right?
Yeah.
But like in recent times, yeah, parang I see less people wearing the off-white, like the ones with like the lines in the back and
Yeah.
like the ones with the X's, like
Mhm.
that. I don't know what you call those, but you know the jackets, for example,
Right, right, right.
with the X's on the back or the lines
Yeah.
on the back or the lines on the sleeve. Parang I don't see people wear it as much. And just thinking of how much they pay for that actual shirt, and now that they can't I mean, they can still wear it, but alam mo yun, parang it's not as popular as it
Right.
is now. I don't know if it's sustainable because you have to face it, like hype makes things popular for a certain amount of time. And
Yeah.
eventually, I don't know if it's gonna be still popular by then, because that's how it works. That's, I mean, that's how fashion works.
Yeah.
Things will always come up. They will always bring back certain things, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean it will be popular forever. I mean, that's how
Yeah.
trends work. Yeah.
And I think, I mean, the bottom line also, I mean, to add to your point, yeah, like the bottom line, I think for any fashion brand still is to sell their products, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think it might also go with how, the how every product now that's of certain substance like
Mm-hmm.
is hyped up, because I guess it's also a way to appeal to a younger consumer.
Mm-hmm.
Because
That's true.
I guess people were into who have been into like designer fashion for a long time, yeah, they I guess they know, like the people who work for these brands know that, the let's say an older consumer is less inclined to buy something from their brand as frequently,
Yeah.
as opposed to someone, let's say a younger consumer, who might be more inclined to buy like a t-shirt
Yeah.
or a hoodie. But yeah, it
That's
just makes
true.
me wonder, just going back into this, like going just to try and bring it back to dunks. I feel like the hype is good, but I really wonder if it's sustainable, because the people who really who dedicated their time and their effort to like elevate the culture around the Nike Dunk, I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
everybody's gonna be able to participate. Let's
Yeah.
say with how popular dunks are now, like
Mm-hmm.
Nike SB dunks and regular dunks, the prices for them are like double what they're worth most of the time now,
Yeah.
at least double.
Mhm.
And then it just makes me wonder, for people who have been collecting them for a long time, let's say, especially while the hype wasn't around.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that kind of
It's
feels
annoying.
bad that they might not be able to participate in it as much anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. For
You know,
sure.
it's
Like,
like
and
how. Oh, go
yeah,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, these are the people who most of the time they're the people who the shoes are made for. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, this is for them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the rappers, who are like the tastemakers of this for that type of culture. There's lots of people who've been doing it like day in day out, who don't get that kind of recognition, and they who are really passionate about these kinds of shoes.
That's
You know,
true.
it's like how, what's that term? They say it a lot. People say it a lot. Like, when how like neighborhoods are gentrified.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They say like, they make something look nice. They make a neighborhood look nice, but
Mm-hmm.
and then they make it look nice and attractive, and it makes the prices for it makes the rent prices or the homeowner prices go up, and it alienates people, the people who were living there before, who
Yeah.
made that place attractive enough to like make even more attractive in the first place.
That's
So
true.
there's a part of me that's weirded out by like all this energy towards the dunk, because
Mm-hmm.
I think the dunk should be there like with the Air Force One, And like
Mm-hmm.
the Air Jordan 1 is like a staple shoe, like it
Yeah,
shouldn't ever like be out of circulation.
that's true. Because if you look at it, it's something you can wear talaga forever. Like the
Yeah.
way it looks, like the silhouette and like
Yeah.
how it's structured, the
Yeah.
construction of it, it's
Yes.
very classic.
Very.
And yeah, which is yun na nga, it kind of just brings us back to how hype, like
Yeah.
and popularity, and how brands grow, sometimes they really do lose the essence of like the or the very core of something.
Yeah.
And like what we've seen in 2020, I think, is like skateboarding and like skate culture, and that kind of culture like kind of became the cash cow of like, you
Yeah.
know, of all these brands, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Very.
Yeah.
Skate culture, street culture, it just yeah, it's a subset of people that fashion brands would never, or like sports brands, fashion brands would never have catered to before.
And it's interesting because I think like the charm of it also before was like how it was a niche market, like it wasn't as big, and it
Yeah.
was just something that the people inside could like enjoy. Not to say that we're gatekeeping. Obviously we're not
Not at
gatekeeping.
all.
It's more of like you just have to think about these things as a consumer, diba? Like
Yeah.
you want to be a well-informed consumer, not just
Yeah,
someone
for
who
sure.
passively buys what is popular. Because you really have to face it na parang what you buy really reflects you, obviously, as a
Yes.
person. I mean, that is already just the reality of it. So it really helps to understand. I mean, you don't have to know everything. Like me, I don't know everything about a
Oh,
certain
yeah.
thing,
Of course.
but at least you kind of know where it's coming from ish, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, and also with hype, let's say with like dunks and stuff. I think it'd be interesting to see how they're gonna sustain it, because that is our question. Like, how are you going to be able to sustain the hype around it or the product itself, right? So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna push them to get even more creative and
Yeah.
see what they can come up with, because I think over time we see how hype, like, okay, it's hype now, so they kind of release a lot of things over time, and then not everything people will like, but people will still buy it, but it's not going to be like the best thing. And eventually, I mean, sana hindi, but you know, eventually they're also going to have to like really push their creativity when it comes to dropping certain shoes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think when I looked at what's slated to come out like for towards the end of the year, and like what's possibly coming out next year in terms of dunks, and it's a packed like
Mm-hmm.
set of releases. So many, there's still so many like dunks that are going to be coming out, like main like collaboration stuff, mainline stuff.
Yeah.
It's all, I guess there's a lot of there're going to be a lot of options available for all kinds of people. It's just
Mm-hmm.
I do hope though that people do have like a fair shot at getting them, especially
Yeah.
people who have been collecting dunks and have been wanting dunks to like come back.
Yeah. That's true. Like, I think that's one of the most frustrating things about hype
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
things. It's like, as someone who really loves a certain thing and you're unable to get it, and someone
Yeah.
else who doesn't love it as much as you do,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean, gets it, it's like,
Yeah.
what the heck? Like, why? Like,
Exactly.
oh my god, I just want to share the story. It was
Mm.
kind of like when I got my Air Jordan 1s, the Spider-Man, Spider-Verse origin
Yeah, yeah.
story, that one,
Right.
because dad got them before I did.
Right,
So
right, right.
our dad, he's also really into sneakers. He saw the Air Jordan 1 Spider Verse, the Miles Morales, that
Right.
shoe,
Yeah.
the origin story shoe, and he wanted them, and he got them before me. And I was so annoyed because he didn't even watch the movie. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
so
yeah.
annoyed. Like, that's how hype works, eh? Diba? Like,
Yeah.
this is popular, people are gonna want to get it. That doesn't necessarily mean that they know like what it is, where it's from. Not doesn't necessarily mean that they're a fan of it, but since
Yeah.
it's hype and since this is what's popular right now, they're gonna want to get it. Not to say our dad's a hype beast, but Shout out, dad. But you know what I mean? Like I was like, I want to get the shoes too. But I know that feeling. Like it's annoying. Like
Yeah, you just want the fair shot at getting things. So that's why I think like for every limited dunk like Nike should ever release, I think they should make some that are generally available too. That's why
yeah,
I
for
really
sure.
think like the dunk should be in that discussion with like the Air Force One and the a few of the Air Max models, as shoes that are always available, and then you never have to like wait half a decade for them or like 10 years for them to come back strong. Like
Yeah.
I think it's such a testament also to like to to enduring design. Like if you
Mhm.
have something that's always available, that means people will love it no matter what.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, and isn't that what every company wants? Like what they design to be there forever. Like
Yeah,
this is what like diba, people always want to be into it. So I think
yeah. You
that
always
would be
want to
interesting to
be
see.
you always want to be people always want to be like immortalized for something, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly.
so that's I think just to have it always there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it takes away from the energy around like the dunks and like dunk collecting culture one bit.
Yeah.
I if I could see like just a few colors like always available, why not?
Yeah, that would be true. That's cool. I mean, that's true. Cause like for me, like I would love to own a pair of dunks. Like I don't care what color, if it's like a collab or something. If it's
Yeah,
there, if it's like for example, even just like a white pair of like dunks, I don't know, like
yeah,
something that's easily to get. Easy to get. I would get them because it's a
right,
shoe that's
right,
so wearable, goes with everything. Like
exactly.
they don't even have to be hyped for me to like them.
Yeah,
Because if you look at the shoe aesthetically, I hate
yeah,
that word, but aesthetically, like if you look at it, it's something that
exactly.
could last the test of like time. You know what I mean? In terms
Yes,
of design, because
I think so too.
it is a sneaker. That's
Yeah,
it. Like if you think of a sneaker and you look at this, that's it. Like
yeah.
yeah.
And then it goes back to another thing we were talking about in the first episode also. I mean,
Hmm.
we answered the question like what was the most iconic shoe or like the best shoe of all time, and we both said the Chucks were, diba?
Yeah.
And I think dunks are in that league just because they transcend their original purpose as well. Like they were a basketball shoe that's found like a second life in skate culture, in the streetwear world.
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
I mean it's translated so well from like what it was originally intended for, and it's
Yeah.
still in like a cultural conversation decades later. So I think it really should be up there. It's definitely in that discussion, and I think people should get a fair shot at getting them, because if you take away all the hype around the dunks, let's say take away the associations with Travis Scott and like Nike SB, it's still
Yeah.
a great looking shoe.
It is.
High cut,
And
low cut, it's great.
I'm surprised that like people like the resurgence of the hype around them, it took like people like Travis Scott to make them kind of even more popular, because in my head it was
Yeah,
already such a nice shoe that parang it didn't really need like someone like Travis Scott to like boost it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Oh, yeah, but like to make it more popular,
yeah,
since I also knew they were popular before, so like it's 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 weird because it's such a nice shoe already to
yeah,
begin with. Yeah. Yeah. But then again, I guess it was a good move for them because it just really makes it more it became more appealing to a wider audience, obviously,
yeah, for sure.
because of Travis Scott, which really plays in their favor anyway. So
Mhm. You're gonna be selling more anyway. Yeah,
yeah. So hopefully one day we get to see them really up there with like, the Air Force One, because it's a really nice shoe that you could
it
wear
really is.
often, and very functional too,
Yeah,
I
it's
would
simple.
imagine.
It's just a simple shoe.
And imagine
Looks
if people
great.
skate in those shoes.
Yeah,
They're
that
really
means
good for your
that
feet.
means they're durable too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Woo.
I don't know. It's just I do wish
Hmm.
they became more available just for people to get like a fair shot at finding out
Yeah, to
why they're
experience.
great. Yeah, you
Exactly.
know.
Yeah. We never know. We shall see how
We
the
shall
rest of
see.
2020 unfolds.
But yes,
The
definitely it's been
topic.
such a good year for dunks. Like regular dunks, Nike SB dunks. It's been a
Hmm.
great outstanding solid. I don't know. I don't have enough like words to describe this year for dunks. It's just a great year. All I
Yeah.
mean, despite everything that's been going on, it's been a great year for dunk collectors. Or if you're getting into dunks now,
Hmm.
you've got some of the best choices you could choose from.
Exciting times.
Very exciting
Yeah.
times, and it's gonna be
So
rolling into next year too.
yeah.
So you've got options. Hopefully, we
Yeah.
all do
And we're excited to see what those options are.
for
Maybe
sure.
I'll buy my first ever pair
Who
this year. We
knows?
never know.
For next year,
Ooh, or next year. Sana next year. Everything is better na, no?
yeah. Sana.
Yay! But that was a good discussion. Like I really always wanted to talk about hype because also if everyone after this like episode wants to know more about hype and stuff, I would recommend watching the hype episode on Patriot Act with Hassan Minaj because he kind of really just goes more into the business of it. If you want to be a well informed consumer, I think that would be a good resource as well.
Yeah, it's another perspective to take into
Yeah.
account.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I mean, we're still buying shoes, so it's always good to have like the most well-rounded or well, it's always good to have the most to make the most well-rounded and informed decisions as possible, especially when
Yeah,
it comes to like what you buy.
exactly. Don't let them fool you. Well,
Yeah, like hype is cool, but like if you try and look beyond it also just to see what else is out there.
hmm, yeah, I think yeah, I've always believed in being not being a passive consumer and like you always want to know what you're buying and kind of like not naman like I said you don't have to know everything about it. It's just know why you're buying it. Not
Yeah.
don't ever buy anything just because it's popular. Buy it because you want it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not because your friends want it and you just want to be part of it. Don't do that ever. You should want it because this is something that you're going to invest your hard-earned money in hopefully. Because at the end of the day, they are shoes. You know what I
Yes.
mean? They're meant to be worn. That is my philosophy in life. Not everyone feels that way, but they are meant to be worn. So, gotta think about it.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
But
Exactly.
hopefully next year we get like better, a better shot at getting these dunks that come out, and hopefully by then like we'll have more reasons to be out.
Yeah, hopefully. Oh my gosh, hopefully. But we just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in to our second episode.
Yes.
It was super
Thank you
fun
so
talking
much.
today. Yeah, don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to Kicks Vibes and Life and also hit that notification bell so you guys get notified each time we upload something new.
Yeah. So watch out for more episodes coming from us, and yeah, do follow us on Instagram also
Mhm.
for more kicks, vibes, and life content.
Yeah, and if you guys have any suggestions of what you would want us to talk about, like shoes, anything like in pop culture too, let us know so that
Yeah,
we
please.
can talk
We'd love to
about
hear from you.
them. Yeah, we would love to join. We would love you to join our conversation as well. So, yeah, thanks again for tuning in to our second episode. This has been Sam with 2 M's.
And my name is Mikey.
And we will see you guys next time here on Kicks, Vibes, and Life, a podcast about sneakers. Peace out.
Bye.